Thank you. My name is Hanoch and I'm a sexaholic. When I was called up, given the honor to speak, to talk tonight, I was thinking to myself again and again and again, if I was given the honor to talk here, what is there that I know that you don't know? What could I teach you, educate you, inspire you with something that you haven't heard yet? And then it dawned on me that you didn't call me here to share with you some insight, some inspiration. I only have to share with you my own experience. So it became so much lighter because I don't have to tell you something very interesting, just talk about myself. I am a little nervous because I feel very comfortable talking in an essay meeting. In the mixed crowd, SAS and on, I'm a little afraid to talk about. My acting out was very ugly, dirty, as we call it, and I'm very ashamed of it. And in my essay environment, I feel very comfortable talking about it. My wife, blessed her memory, she just passed away, my wife, 6 months ago. I want to talk about it a little bit soon. She couldn't hear the details. It was too hard for her. She didn't want to hear about it. So for the past 20 years, 19 plus years that I'm in SA, I knew that for woman Esanan, it's very hard to hear details. So I am a little bit confused, mixed. On one side, for the essay friends, I feel I need to tell you the details so you know that there's a God that could pull you back from wherever you are. And yet for the woman essay, I'm afraid to tell you all the details. You might hate me. I also want to say, before I begin talking as a introduction, I'm in a very, very hard place in my life now. I'm not a happy camper. My wife passed away June 28. She was sick with cancer for 17 months, and I watched my closest person in life going from bad to worse, to worse, to worse, to worse. Hope and despair, hope and despair, hope and despair for 17 months. And she passed away, she died. And she left me with 4 kids. I have 4 kids at home. One is in college, one is a high school kid. And then I have 2 handicapped children at home. One is 27, who lives on a respirator, who lives in my house. And I have a child who is mentally retarded, a cerebral palsy, and is 24. And my wife was the hero who took care of these kids for the past 27 years. And I feel overwhelmed. I feel trapped, stuck. I don't like it to be a mother. I hardly accept being a father. Now I have to be a mother. I have to diaper my kids sometime. I have to lift them, put them in a wheelchair, a bed, wheelchair. And I do have supposedly 24-hour nurses paid by Medicaid. So therefore on weekends or on holidays they're not available, they don't want to come. Or I'm home nights, and I have to live with a nurse, takes care of my kids. For a sexaholic, it's not so healthy. And I don't want it, but I have no choice. And yet I know that if I'm sober, I'm okay. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm in a lot of pain, and I cry a lot, and I talk to my higher power, and I beg him, and I say, show me the light, show me the light. But I know if I'm sober and connected to him, things are going to work out. Acting out is not a solution. Not only it's not a solution, but staying sober is the solution. Just stay sober and go to meetings. And somehow things are going to work out. My job today is acceptance, acceptance, and acceptance. Why am I repeating it? Because almost daily I start crying, and it's very hard for me, and I pray again to have the acceptance. And I have a fundamental belief. I believe very strongly, if I just stay sober, it will work out. Things are going to work out. I don't know how, but my higher power did not bring me this far to drop me. Don't quit before the miracle. And I've seen miracles, wonderful miracles. I also want to say that I spoke about it multiple times today. I watched my wife dying for 17 months. And I want to say to my sister Elanans, I want to say something. I'm starting to understand your pain. Now I understand what my wife went through with me. When those promises, again and again a promise, in a new beginning, in a new hope, and then 3-4 weeks later again, bingo, another slip. This is what I watched, what I lived through 17 months. Every 3-4 weeks, another tumor, another type of chemo. 2 months later, a new tumor, different chemo, different radiations, surgery, again, different doctor, different hospital, different promises. And yet all the promises didn't last. None of the doctors were right. They were all, I wish they were right, And I felt, I was watching and going through this. I'm still in that pain. I went through. It's a year and 7 months of hell. Now I understand what some of you are going through as an aunt. Now I know what the amends I need to make to my wife. Because now I went through some of the pain she went through with me. What I'm trying to say is, never judge a person till you walk his footsteps. But yet I want to say again, I'm coming back to myself. If I'm sober today and connected to my higher power, things are going to work out. I believe in that very strongly. And I'm very emotional, as I say, because I'm saying it to myself. I say this to myself multiple times every day. Just stay sober. Just stay sober towards the road to happy destiny. Things are going to work out. I want to say something. I want to say a lot, but I want to start. I think I want to go back a little bit, 20 years ago and a little before, and tell you where I'm coming from. 19 plus years, it was 19 years and a month. I called up the SA hotline, and a person called me back, and I spoke to him on the phone a couple of minutes, and he said to me, I have the perfect person for you. I can't give out his number, it's anonymity, I have to call him first, and he called him, he called me back, and I met my sponsor. And I came to SA, and I'm sober since that day. That was November 27, 1992. And if somebody asks me, what did you do to stay sober? What's the magic? The answer is, I don't know. Because I didn't do it. I have a higher power who did it. He showed me that he could do it. What I was told when I came to SA 19 years ago is that this is not about being a religious person. It has nothing to do with religion. And the blessing was a gift that my higher power saw to it that there was a man who had the identification, who came from a similar background that I came, who was able to explain me this is only a disease. It's nothing about being good or bad. Just step aside. Stop fighting this. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. My dear brothers and sisters, I fought this disease for 20-some years of my life. From age 12, I was masturbating, and then I graduated to street prostitutes till the age of 35. At age 35, I was a full-blown drug addict, alcoholic, sexaholic. In 1991, after I was sober for quite some time, I wanted to see how much money I had spent on my addiction. So I went through 1991 was the peak of my use, of my addiction. Between the months January and June of 1991, I spent about $10,000 a month. It's a lot of money. Even today, it's still a lot of money. Buying crack, smoking crack, and picking up street prostitutes. And you know what? It wasn't enough. And it wasn't money that I had. It was money that I did not have. I was managing real estate, and instead I took care of other people's money. I was managing other people's money, and I used their money for my disease. In June of 1991, I realized I'm in big trouble, and I called up the cocaine hotline. I was led to a clinic, and that led me to a therapist. I came into his office, and he hears my story, and he tells me, and I immediately told him, I said to him, it's not the cocaine, it's the girls. I'm sorry, it's not the girls, it's my connection with the girls. It's not you girls, it's my view of the girls, my connection with you. And he said to me, Well, maybe it's a problem, but you gotta deal with the cocaine first. You know, it's heavy stuff. I said to him, no, it's the girls. And we fought back and forth. He convinced me to go to AA meetings. I went to some AA meetings. And I came back to him and I said to him, it's not for me. Listen, after I said to him, and I'm sorry, I said to him, listen, I'm Jewish, you have to understand. Jewish people are different. And I earnestly meant it. So he said, okay, so teach me, what are Jewish people like? They're different? I said, what do you want to do? So I said, I'll come to you once a week. You're going to see, I'll just have to come to you once a week. It'll be okay. And from June 91 to October 91, I just couldn't stay sober, neither from drugs, neither from alcohol, neither from acting out sexually. And he convinced me that I have to start going to AA meetings. And I went to AA meetings, and I met a person in an AA meeting, came over to me, and I want to say, this is a story, it's very dramatic in my recovery, but I want to convey this. He said to me, you look like lost here. You probably feel very uncomfortable. This is an AA meeting in a church. And after the meeting, this person comes over to me and says, hi, my name is Robert. He says, I'm an alcoholic. I happen to be Jewish too. I guess you feel very uncomfortable here. You know what? Take my number. Take my number. If you need to call me, if you need help, call me. So I said, thank you. And the man was courageous enough. He took out his business card with his full name, first name, last name, and he said to me, call me in my office, call me in my home, call me if you need help. It was about 2 or 3 weeks later that I went out on a binge. A binge, 2-3 days in October, the end of October. I think it was October 24th. And I spent in 2 days $700-800. And I came back home 11:30 at night, half stoned, drunk, acting out. And I called up Robert and I said, Robert, you know what I just did, where I'm coming now from? And I started telling him all the details, where I'm coming, how much money I spend. And he stops me, he says, stop. So I stopped. Why are you calling me? I said, you gave me your number. He said, call me. So he said, excuse me, I gave you my number and I said specifically, call me if you need help. You're not calling for help now. You're calling after. You're crazy. You're dying. You don't even know it. You don't even know you're crazy. You have nothing to do. You're calling me. You're calling Robert. If you really want to get help, call me before, not after. It's not 11:30 at night. I want to go to sleep. Tomorrow I have to work. If you really want to get help, call me in the morning. Goodbye, and he hung up the phone on me. That was my first spiritual awakening. And he told me, you are crazy, and I believed it. And I still believe it. When he hung up the phone on me, I said to myself, the man is really right. I am crazy. And I started crying. I was crying. And I got scared. And the morning I called him. I said, Robert, I'm scared. I believe you. Please tell me what to do. And he said, come over to my office, let's spend the day together. And I came over to his office, and he taught me that I am insane. That was my first spiritual awakening. Somebody told me the truth. And he said to me, listen, I was there 2 years ago. Therefore I understand where you're coming from. And he started taking me to AA meetings, and I have accepted the fact that I am insane. But I said to Robert, it's the girl. It's the girl. He said to me, don't worry about him. He said to me, I have to be very graphic. He said to me like this, buy yourself a stash of magazines and masturbate until you fall flat on your face. But you can't go to those damn girls on the street. You could go to a ton of AA meetings and talk about it and masturbate all day until you fall flat on your face. And you know what? For some people it might be truth. Some people could masturbate and it's okay. Not me. I tried it. Being humble at that point. And saying to myself, maybe my sponsor is right. I did what he told me to do. But I have to say, AA was my beginning of spiritual awakening. The man taught me what means surrender, what means accepting, what means having some humility, and listening to a sponsor. And I went to a lot of AA meetings and started reading the big book and the 12 and 12 and followed the advice of my sponsor. A year later, on the week of my AA anniversary, I picked up a prostitute on the street. And when I walked down from that hotel room, I was crying to myself and I said, Robert does not understand who I am. Maybe for him AA is good, not for me. I was crying. I came down the stairs from that hotel. And next day was November 27th, 92. I came into my therapist's office and I said to her, AA does not work for me. Maybe for some other people, not for me. I'm different than they are. And she said, maybe you want to try SA. And I called SA. In SA, I found my identification. I found brothers and sisters like me. I finally find a home. Finally, I found people who told me, we are just like you. And stop fighting. Stop fighting. How much time do I have? Who's the leader here? Because I have a lot to talk. I came to SA, and I want to say something here. When I came, I do want to say, I want to reiterate again that AA, I'm sorry, this is an SA conference, but I have to admit what AA gave me. What I learned in AA is the surrender and the concept of the disease. When I came to SA, I came ready. That readiness of the concept and the accepting of that idea of the disease. But there's another point what I picked up in AA. And that is that for the alcoholic, one drink will kill you. When I came to SA, I knew that I cannot take a second look. I knew that Rabbi doesn't understand me. If I masturbate, it's my drinking. If I look in that magazine, it's my drinking. And that's why I came to SA. And I can't take it. I'm sorry, but I'm prejudiced. I can't take it when people come to SA and desecrate SA. It bothers me. And people come to SA, you want to play around? Why come to SA? There's other fellowships. This is like AA. In AA, you can't take one drink and come to an AA meeting and say I'm sober. If you want to look in a magazine and say you're sober, don't come to SA. I'm sorry, but that look will kill me. It's 19 years later, but I know it. I believe it. Want to fast forward. My sponsor in AA and then in SA taught me of surrender to a higher power. And my AA sponsor took me through the steps. I made a written 4-step inventory. I came to learn about myself. I came to learn how crazy really I was. I was crazy, really insane. And I want to say here again that I'm going to talk to my wife now. I'm going to say that you had the full right to leave me and to desert me. Why you gave me another chance, I don't know. But I owe you my life. Now that my life is not here anymore physically, now when I look back on all those years, I was crazy after I came to SA. It took me years to get a little bit back to somewhat normal. The first 2 years I was sober, I was depressed, rageful. I couldn't deal with anything in life. This drug, this drug of loss left my body, I fell to pieces. I couldn't function. The first 2 years I wasn't able to function, do nothing. I used to get up in the morning and cry. And cry and cry. I didn't want to act out, but I couldn't see life without acting out. I couldn't do nothing. Only did the minimum, and my wife couldn't take me. She said to me, go act out. Leave the house. I can't take you. I can't stand you. And yet she didn't desert me. I didn't stay sober. My higher power kept me sober and still keeping me sober. What I did is get out of the way. And to this day, that's all I have to do. That's all I have to do. Get out of the way. Just beg God, please come into my life. Just give me another day. Just give me another day. And I still do it. And somehow it's working. If this higher power was able to make this broken vessel sober, he could keep you sober. I'm saying this with full humility. There's nothing in me. I was a broken vessel, good for nothing. When I came here 19 years ago, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I'm worth anything. I was just in so much pain. And all my sponsors told me is to pray and beg him and let him do the job. And yet, he proved me that he's very powerful. And not only he's keeping me sober, the biggest miracle, that to this day I am amazed that he uses me to help other people. There are other children of God that could benefit something from this broken vessel. And I stand and wonder. I just don't comprehend this. It's hard for me to accept it. He has done it here. He has done it in Israel. In the Rockland County where I live today, there's 7 or 8 meetings that my higher power wanted, I don't know why, wanted me to be a messenger and bring the message. The fact that I'm sober these days is another wonder. If you were to tell me be alone at home with the nurse sleeping in the house and stay sober, yet every day I surrender. What's going to be tomorrow? I don't know. I am afraid. And it's healthy fear. Some fear is healthy. I do my step work every day. You know why? Because I'm scared. And also it's very beneficial. It's worth it. I gain from it a lot. I also want to say that somehow, through being sober and doing step work, my higher power made me a father and a mother now. That I didn't believe I'm capable of. To the day of my wife's death, I didn't believe I could be a mother. It's very hard for me to believe I could do it, but somehow I didn't fall apart. I didn't act out. And I don't know how I'm doing it. I really don't know. But it's not me. It's a higher power. He is the powerful guy. I looking to start sober dating very soon, and it's a new field that I never had to deal before in sobriety, and it'll be a very new experience, and I'm going to have to take advice from people who have done it in sobriety. I would have to tell my future mate before anything serious happens about my history in SA, and I'm already full of fear about it, because if it's a half-decent person, how is she going to take it? No. And yet, I will do it very soon. I will have to do it in a sober way. I read, thank God, I've read the big book and the white book every day through my wife's death, through the last couple of weeks of her dying. I also want to talk about that God, my higher power, gave me the opportunity to live the amends with my wife. I have a long list of people I have hurt, and the one and the most that I have hurt was my wife. Bless her memory. Mendel was her name. And the last 6 months of her life, she little by little was unable to take care of herself, less and less. And I was there to be of service for her. And as I was there for her, I was, with grace, thanking my higher power that I'm able to live the amends. And I felt that what a gift. What a gift. I have stolen a lot of money from people. As I told you before, in my active days of my addiction, I destroyed a lot of money of other people, and it's been almost 20 years I'm sober, and it's about $6 million that I have to pay back. I haven't found it yet. But if this higher power was able to guide me through paying amends to my wife, I believe he will guide me through making amends to the other people I have hurt. Because the person I have hurt the most was my wife. I have robbed her of many, many years of a peaceful life. I want to say again, I want to finish with this thought, that wherever you are in life, I'm talking to my SAP brothers, I promise you, I have seen the miracles. If you stay sober and go to meetings, things will work out. I have lived through it. I'm still living through it. Somehow things are falling in place. And my S&N sisters or brothers, I want to make amends to all of you and say that it's brave of you that you give us a second chance. You have all the right not to take this abuse. And thank you all. Thank you very much.